Second time recording this video. First time I did it outside, the wind ruined it all, so hopefully we can get through it this time. In this video I want to talk about the recent news that came out in the fitness industry of the bodybuilder, Justin Vicky, I believe his name was, 33 years old, in Bali, was performing a heavy squat, tragic accident, and he ended up passing away. First of all, rest in peace to him. Condolences to his family, absolutely tragic stuff. Now, this is the second time in a matter of weeks that the fitness industry has shook me. I've been training for the best part of 20 years, and during that time I've seen many bodybuilders, young, old, many athletes die for various reasons, and a lot of the time you just sort of dismiss it, you sort of just shrug it off as like, oh, drugs, or it's just been an idiot, or something along those lines. But this incident this week, and also the death of Joe Aesthetics about 2-3 weeks ago now, have really shook me, and I'll tell you why. I met Joe a few times when I was in Bangkok and he was in Bangkok, and I've also met the people he associates with, and I can tell you that regardless of what they put in their bodies in terms of enhancement, I believe that they are all doing it in the most considered and safest way possible. They're getting checked regularly, they're going to the best doctors in that area. So the fact that none of these potential risks were flagged in advance of this, and he seemingly, from what we've heard, dropped dead one day, that is terrifying to me. Rest in peace to Joe, and condolences to everyone affected by his death too. Joe was just 30 years old, and this week Justin Vicky was 33 years old, and these guys were seemingly healthy, pushing their bodies to the limit in different ways, yes, but we're not going out and doing anything particularly different to what many people are doing in gyms around the world every single day. And then when I saw this video this week, this shook me even more. Now, you have to understand, I am 35 years old. I have been around since the early days of the internet, when websites like rotten.com were popping up with absolutely horrific videos. At the time, as a young, immature teenager, I was seeking that stuff out because I wanted that shock factor. But nothing that I saw in any of those videos during that period shook me the way this squat video shook me this week. In fact, I'm a little surprised it's so readily available online. I don't know the circumstances, whether the upload was approved or not, whether it was shared for cautionary purposes. But I was watching Chris Jones's video talking about it, and he said beforehand, some of you may find this a little bit distressing. If anybody didn't find that distressing, you've got something wrong with you, because it was one of the most distressing videos I've ever seen in my life. In fact, the only reason I feel like it's not been outright banned from the internet already is due to the angle at which it was filmed. Because if the video, God forbid, was taken a little bit more directly to the right of him, I think the angle at which you could see the impact on his neck would have been even more disturbing. I've seen people questioning the spotter in this instance in the discussions, and I don't know if I agree with that completely. Let me tell you what I think a spotter's role is. A spotter's role is to step in at the end of that, let's say, 7th or 8th rep, when the lifter needs that little push, that little bit of assistance just to get over the line. A spotter's role is not to save someone from a failed 1 rep max. So much of lifting is momentum. You have to feel the weight, you have to control it, you have to listen to your body, and then you have to power based on your feeling, on your momentum. I'm not talking about momentum as in bad form. I'm talking about you're already in control of the weight. You have to control it and manage the weight. Spotter's role is not to remove 200 kilos from someone's body safely when things go wrong. Now, I'm not going to share that video out of respect. I don't feel like it's appropriate to share it. It's available if you want to go and seek it out. 1, 2, 3 rep maxes with heavy weight should be performed, in my opinion, in the safety of a power rack, with the safety bars set up so that if things do go wrong, you can escape at all costs, and the momentum of the bar is going to be taken by the rack itself. Don't think it's fair to expect another man to take the brunt of that weight when you realize that you're about to fail. If the lifter in this incident had managed to push the momentum of the weight off his back, that's 200 kilos going straight onto the squatter. He would have been dead. Now, John Bravo in his video questioned what is the relationship between the spotter and the lifter. That is a different conversation. Yeah, how comfortable were they with each other? Did they know each other in advance of this happening? We don't know that yet, so that is a completely different topic. But in terms of the actual lift itself, once he got down to the bottom of the lift and got stuck it was an accident waiting to happen, and unfortunately in this case it was a tragedy waiting to happen. Now, having said all that, I think it's also important to remember that Justin simply pushing himself, as I'm sure he's done many times before, to get to a level where he could actually consider lifting that weight. He was just doing what he loves to do, what we all love to do, and that's what shook me the most about this particular instance. And in Chris Jones's video, he said it's an example. I think that's so true, because no matter your level, one of the key principles of fitness is progressive overload. And part of that is to push your body beyond what it may be capable of, pushing yourself beyond failure in order to move forward, in order to progress. So what Justin was doing when attempting this lift was simply trying to push himself, as I'm sure he's done many times before. He was doing what he loves, he was doing what we all love. He was trying to push himself further, and unfortunately in this case it ended tragically. I think as fitness people, sometimes we take for granted the fact that every time we lift heavy, every time we push ourselves, whilst we are focusing on the progression we're making, on the rewards, we are not always necessarily taking the true risk into account. Hypothetical example, bear with me. If you strapped a jetpack to your back and you decided, I am just going to push this thing as high as I can go until it cuts out, there is the risk management there. The risk management would be to put a parachute on so that when that jetpack cuts out, you can slowly lower yourself back down. And I think as fitness people, sometimes we forget to put on that parachute, cause injury or even worse in the long run. Anyway guys, let me know your opinion in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, let me know your opinion in the comments, and until next time guys, thanks very much. Bye bye.